What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Bluffton Tech Dynasty here on EA College Football 25. We enter year number 4, and this year comes with heavy expectations for us, even bigger expectations than last season. We finished with 10 wins last year, but we come in as one of the best group of 5 teams, at least on paper. But now we get to a point to where this is the time that we gotta make it happen. Can we start our journey to not only win the MAC, but also maybe secure our first appearance in the college football playoff? Find out that and much more over the course of this season, and I hope you guys are excited for year number 4. And if you guys are, make sure you go ahead and do a couple of things for me. Hit that like button, and then also hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. But before we get into our very first game of the season against the Marshall Thundering Herd, let's go ahead and check out some of your guys' custom players that are joining the team. Alright guys, so we'll start at one of the most important positions in college football, and that is the quarterback position. We actually have a couple of guys here. Justin Hope is going to take over, wearing that number 7. The scrambler archetype has the tools to possibly be the starting quarterback for us one day, but for right now, he will be redshirted as he is slated to be our 4th string quarterback this season. In addition, William Callison is also on this team, and while he provides a couple of mental abilities, he is more likely to be a career backup for us here at Bluffton Tech. Meanwhile, at the fullback position, we actually have a utility guy for us, DeAndre Bazier. DeAndre Bazier lines up pretty well as a fullback, comes in at a respectable 74 overall as a true freshman. Expect to see some gadget plays for DeAndre Bazier throughout the season. Meanwhile, at the wide receiver position, we have a few guys that are going to be joining the team from the wide receiver position. Jacob Credible, who is more of a physical archetype. Caleb McCormick, who specializes in route running. And Joshua Peters, who is a true freshman route runner from Holland, Ohio. While they don't have elite athleticism, they have the tools to be starting receivers for us one day. However, for right now, they're also buried on the depth chart. Meanwhile, on the defensive side of the football, Neil Copper is here at the linebacker position. We're currently converting him from defensive lineman because I feel like he has a higher upside as a defensive lineman. Plus, he was one of those athletes. He comes in as a 72 overall, but needs to work on his athleticism, as 73 speed is on the low end. That's why we are redshirting him this season. At middle linebacker, we do have Will McNeil coming to the squad. He's kind of that field general archetype, and he'll have a chance to learn from great linebackers like Nash Burte as well as Christian Alagrio. Will McNeil could be a very good linebacker for us someday, but is going to be behind some insanely talented linebackers. That's why we're also redshirting him as well. And the same could be said for Barkle Sapana, who comes in as a power rushing archetype. The right outside linebacker comes in as the 4th string guy, behind guys like Jaleel Freeman, who we brought in through the transfer portal. Draymond Gates, who was a starter for us this past season. And JP Christian, who had all the potential in the world, but isn't necessarily living up to it. So Barkle Sapana is going to redshirt, at least for right now. Moving over to the corner position, Seth Randolph is going to be redshirted for your Finding Muskrats, as Seth Randolph is a more of a naturally gifted athlete here. He is going to be behind some pretty good corners, but needs some time to develop because he's not ready to step on the field for us, at least not quite yet. Same thing could be said for Jody Gentry, who is the little brother of Chris Gentry, as well as the younger brother for, I believe it was, oh my goodness, who's that person's name? It's on the tip of my tongue. Chase Gentry, who was a strong safety, now at Buffalo. Probably will not see the field very much with Samir Dotson brought in through the transfer portal, as well as Sue Render. And finally, the last of your custom guys is going to be Nas Evans. Now, I'm excited for Nas Evans in the future. Nas Evans, I think he has more upside than a Garrick Seabrook with that 94 speed. But he is a little bit of a raw player right now. And so we're going to work on his cornerbacks, his defensive back skills. He definitely has the athleticism to be an elite player. But for right now, he's simply not ready and is going to sit behind some of these good players that we have at this position. Last person of note that I wanted to bring up that's not a custom player but was on this that we brought in this past season is Ethan Grunkmeyer. Now, there was a little bit of a quarterback battle that we brought in this offseason because I wanted someone to compete with JoJo Thompson, and Ethan Grunkmeyer is going to be your starting quarterback at least to start year number 4. We're high on his ability. Seems like he has a ton of upside, not to mention he does have star development as well, which is one of the highest star developments that you can in fact have. And he has a lot of physical traits that we haven't unlocked yet, but he can certainly come in and really be a gifted football player. But the thing that is more interesting about Ethan Grunkmeyer is that he played his last couple of seasons at Marshall. He threw for nearly 3,000 yards for the Thundering Herd last season. So in his very first game of the year, his first start as a Finding Muskrat, Ethan Grunkmeyer is going to return back to Huntington, West Virginia to take on the very school that brought him in as a in that first recruiting class back in year number 1. So with that being said, we'll see if Ethan Grunkmeyer has what it takes to lead us to victory in his first career start with the Finding Muskrats. And with that being said, let's officially kick it down onto the field for our season opener.
Virginia and Jones C. Edwards Stadium, home to the Thundering Herd of Marshall and one of the toughest places to play in all of college football.
Alright boys, so let's go ahead and jump right into it, man, as Ethan Grunkmeyer gets set to make his first pass attempt as a Bluffton Tech Finding Muskrat, and he's gonna find CJ Peaks down the sideline. He's gonna be brought out of bounds, but is able to get across midfield already. Don't know why this crowd is cheering them on because, I mean, Grunkmeyer, he did end up leaving these guys to come join our football team, man, as we almost threw our first interception with Grunkmeyer, but thankfully that pass ends up being dropped. So it ends up being 2nd and 10, so we'll run it with Will Peoples. No, it's a fake for Grunkmeyer, trying to do a little bit too much here early on in this game, as that's going to be a holding penalty against our squad. Eric Paulding caught with the bad hold there, and now it's going to be 2nd and 20, where we'll go with a little bit of play action. Firing to the right-hand side, it's incomplete. But yet another flag on the field, and it could lead to yet another penalty. And this time it's Alex Alabanjo is going to be called for the penalty. It is going to be 2nd and 30, and going backwards as well as we incomplete that next pass. So what do you even do? 3rd and 30. You got like a 4-wide set out on the field. Just trying not to create any major mistakes, as we're going to have Grunkmeyer eat the sack in what was a promising drive for us. It does end up failing. So we end up punting away on the first series of the season. But we do at least force Marshall to go 3 and out quickly. So we try to come out here and do a little bit better here on this second drive of the ball game, as we do pick up a first down with Will Peoples. And matter of fact, we like things so much, we're going back to that action, and this time Ethan Grunkmeyer is going to be able to move the sticks for us. No flags on the field. So now, 2nd and 6 coming up here is Grunkmeyer trying to set up the reverse, as we wanted to get CJ Peaks in the open space, but Jason Clark is going to sniff it out, and now it's 3rd and 11, as Grunkmeyer is going to make some adjustments at the line of scrimmage. Going with an all-go set, looking down the left-hand side. He wants Chris Gentry and makes a big-time play First down for the Fighting Muskrats. And it's going to be the first red zone opportunity of the season for your Fighting Muskrats. As now we got an opportunity to punch it into the end zone for the first time this season. Throwing over the middle and finds Will Peebles, who takes a big hit, but does hang on and pick up a good set of yards. So after a short loss on the next play, it leads to a 3rd and 5 as Grunkmeyer sends Will Peebles out into motion, fires over the middle and finds Chris Gentry, the senior wide receiver, in the end zone. That's going to be a touchdown for your Fighting Muskrats, as Chris Gentry is going to get the scoring started here at year number 4. And Grunkmeyer is also going to have his first passing touchdown as a Fighting Muskrat. So we force yet another 3 and out against the Thundering Herd, and we get set up in pretty good field position here as we'll go ahead and get things started here. 1st and 10 for the 48-yard line, as we're just going to go ahead and run it up the gut with Will Peebles. And Peebles is going to go ahead and move the sticks for a first down. We're trying to keep it rolling, though, as we'll go ahead and set up play action. Facing some pressure, and Grunkmeyer can't get out of it. And so CJ Flowers is able to bring down his former teammate in the backfield. And once again, we're going to be staring down 3rd and 13. Grunkmeyer in the shotgun, looking over the middle of the field, fires, and it's going to find his receiver. It's Maverick Bentley, who won that starting tight end job in spring ball, and now he's out here making some big plays, able to keep the drive alive and could have his first touchdown. No, but he's going to be so close there. 1st and goal coming up. But first, that's going to bring an end to the first quarter of action as the Fighting Muskrats are driving down the field pretty well, able to have a chance to build the lead. So welcome back to C.J. Edwards Stadium as we'll go ahead and get things rolling here on this 1st and goal opportunity, and it will not take very long at all. Will Peebles, the senior running back, is going to find the end zone. Touchdown, Fighting Muskrats! And Bluffton Tech is going to extend the lead further. Now going to find itself up 14-0. As now Marshall finds itself behind the 8 ball. This could get out of hand if things don't get careful here. So Marshall will try to go ahead and get things rolling here. And just a bit of microcosm of this first quarter and a half as Christian Allegro, the Northwestern transfer, is going to be able to deflect that pass away. But then on 2nd and 10, we have a busted coverage downfield. And Porter Lindstrid, last line of defense, can't bring him down. It's a one-man race, and he's gone. Touchdown, Marshall. And the Thundering Herd are on the board for the first time this season. As it looks like there was a little bit of mishap in coverage. Might have been R.W. Cobb, the Western Michigan transfer, that had a bust in coverage. And after a 3 and out by your Fighting Muskrats, all of a sudden Marshall has the opportunity to tie this game up here early in the second quarter of action. So let's see how the Thundering Herd respond. 2nd and long as our quarterback drops back, but it's going to be brought down. That's going to be Spencer Kishball, the Coastal Carolina transfer. That's going to be able to rain him down, and that's going to be a huge loss. As now it leads to a 3rd and long. Obvious passing situation, but we'll see what Marshall does. Dropping back. It's a straight drop back. Looking, facing pressure again. And this was another sack. Looks like it might have been DJ Dean able to apply the final pressure. And Marshall is going to have to punt this football away. Actually, it's Cordell Torrance with the sack. Excuse me. So we'll go ahead and take over at about the 20-yard line as we'll go ahead and get things started once again. Grunkmeyer going to roll to the right, and he's going to find Chris Gentry using all of that 97 speed to get wide butt naked open there. But a few plays later, the drive is threatening to stall out as we face 3rd and 11. Grunkmeyer looking over to right inside, and that's nearly intercepted. Wanted CJ Peaks there, but he was well covered. And so that means that once again, we'll have to punt the football away. And Marshall will take over and able to find a little bit of a running game here, as J.J. Teague is able to have his biggest run of the day thus far, able to carry it 12 yards. That's been his only rushing yards on the day so far. And right away, the Thundering Herd go into their no huddle. They're looking to drop back and wants to go ahead and try to set up the play action. But Jaleel Freeman, the transfer out of Appalachian State, able to deflect that pass away, and eventually leads to a 3rd and 6. Marshall trying to drop back in the pocket, but runs out of time, as that's going to be another sack. This time it is in fact going to be DJ Dean getting his very first sack of the season. And the senior's going to force Marshall to punt this ball away. As now, here we are with a 14-7 lead, as Marshall looking to go ahead and try to press us across the board. But that is a ill-advised decision, as we live with those press coverage opportunities. This time we find Maverick Bentley for the first down, as it moved to sticks for the Fighting Muskrats. As we'll throw over the middle yet again, as Chris Gentry trying to get him the football, but just could not bring it in. So that will result in an incompletion. As now, 2nd and 10 coming up. Grunkmeyer's going to set up the halfback counter. He's got some spurst on him, as that's going to be Will Peoples moving the chains for a first down. It will not take very long for another big play to be made. Grunkmeyer looking to run inside, facing pressure, and finds Javon Moore into the end zone. Touchdown, Bluffton Tech, and the Fighting Muskrats are gonna go ahead and extend the lead. Javon Moore was wide butt naked open there. He also had Chris Gentry open on the other side if he wanted him, but we're just happy that either way, we got a 21-7 lead going on right about now, and we'll see if we can hold on to such a lead, as Marshall is desperately needing for some kind of response. As Marshall will drop back, throw it to the left-hand side, and just gonna barely miss out on a first down opportunity, as that one leads to 3rd and short. How does Marshall respond? They run for the first down. Dropping back, looks to the left-hand side, but it's gonna be deflected away. Robbie Ryder could not bring it in. And so it provides ourselves with a 2-minute drill coming here shortly. Looking to the right-hand side, we want Javon Moore, but Javon Moore was well covered there by Corey Myrick. As now it leads to a 3rd down. Grunkmeyer dropping back, looks over the middle. He's going to find Chris Gentry over the middle. That's going to be good for a first down as we now approach midfield. Couple plays later, Grunkmeyer again looking to throw. Wants a big one downfield, but that was even better covered. That was double coverage there, getting a little too excited. Leading on to a 3rd and 7. Grunkmeyer in the shotgun, looking to throw deep downfield. Wants to step up in the pocket. Saw a couple of receivers open late, but it was too little too late by that point. And so the drive will end up stalling out, and now Marshall has a chance to make this a 1-possession game before the half. Dropping back, going to the right-hand side, and that's going to be caught for a significant gain. Able to eventually bring him out of bounds, as Nicholas DeLoach, I believe, was going to make that tackle. The transfer out of Missouri, doing some good, solid work there on the tackle. But at the same time, though, Marshall is now deep in Bluffton Tech territory, as R.W. Cobb is able to bring that receiver down. But that means that we are also staring down a red zone opportunity. 1st and 10 coming up, as they'll throw to the left-hand side, as Shamir Dotson, the transfer out of Northwestern, able to bring him down. Not the only former Wildcat on this roster, as we do also have Christian Alergo on the team, but neither of them can stop Marshall from driving down the length of the field. That's going to be a touchdown for the Thundering Herd, and all of a sudden, all of that hype that we had in the preseason, it's not necessarily going to help us out here. We are only going into the half with a 1-touchdown lead. And while Grunkmeyer's been playing pretty well at the half, at the same time, we might need a little more from our quarterback. So, with that being said, we'll go ahead and jump right into the second half of action, as we'll go ahead and get things started here. We did get the ball to start the game originally, so Marshall is going to go ahead and get the ball to start this second half. And so right away, you can see why I did not want to see that touchdown being scored. You never want to see your defense get scored on, but the Thundering Herd have a chance to double dip before we even get to see the ball again. So to go from a 21-7 game to now possibly being tied up, that is a discouraging thing to see as an offensive player. But that being said, they still have a little bit to go before they can put points on the board, as their quarterback throws to the left-hand side, and that was going to be a tough completion to be made. One thing that I do like about this defense is that we are at least forcing Marshall to be one-dimensional, as the Thundering Herd have negative rushing yards here in the ball game. But we got to do a better job of putting that pressure on. Skates backs out because he realized he's not getting to the quarterback. Plays as kind of a contained guy, and we're going to be able to stop Marshall. So that means we do now have a chance to make this a 21, at least a 2-possession lead here. But we got to be making sure that we're doing a good job of executing, as it seems like Marshall, they want to live in a very dangerous place. They are going to go ahead and press us across the board. So let's see if Grunkmeyer can make him pay. Dropping back, looks to the left-hand side. He's got Chris Gentry wide open down the sideline, and it turns into a track race. One that Chris Gentry is simply not going to lose. Touchdown, Fighting Muskrats, and Bluffton Tech will once again be able to extend the lead again once more. So not only do we get a touchdown on the last possession, but we force Marshall to go 3 and out, so a chance to really open things up. Firing over the right-hand side, and it's Chris Gentry really making his presence felt here in the season debut of year number 4. Just providing a pretty good, safety net for Grunkmeyer, even though he has a year of starting experience over with the opposite sideline. Still a brand new system for him to learn, so it's great comfort when you have a receiver as talented as Chris Gentry. But now we'll go ahead and try to see if we can get that running game going a little bit more, as Will Peoples is able to find some good running space there. Nearly picks up the first down on the ground. It's a 3rd and short coming up, as it looks like Marshall is locking in on trying to stop the run. We have something special for him, though, as we go 3rd and short. Dropping back, looks over left-hand side, and we wanted Chris Gentry again, but it's going to be incomplete. And a decision time moment here, as this field goal is going to be decently difficult. A 46-yard field goal attempt on the road. Tommy White getting ready to kick it up into the air and is able to slice it through. Good kick from the custom kicker, as Bluffton Tech will have reached 30-plus points successfully. And we also are successful in stopping Marshall yet again. The Thundering Herd forced to go 3 and out. And it looks like we're starting to find a running game here in the second half, as we're starting to see Will Peoples take advantage. But on 3rd and 6, we got to try to throw over the right-hand side. It's CJ Peaks on a slant. He gets away from the defense, and he'll score for the Muskrats again. Touchdown, Bluffton Tech, and CJ Peaks is able to find the end zone. Touchdown for the Fighting Muskrats, and we are starting to pull away here in this second half. 38-14 now being your score, as CJ Peaks just uses his speed. And once again, we do get another 3 and out, so Marshall forced to bring their defense back onto the field. And I think a big caveat that we are seeing right in front of our eyes is that we are wearing down the Marshall front seven. The Thundering Herd not being able to get too much of a rest has been an issue, as there's Will Peoples on the outside getting across the 25-yard line, and we certainly smell that blood in the water. We're going to go ahead and get into our next formation quickly, as I want to run it again with Will Peoples. And Will Peoples doesn't pick up as many yards, but at the very least able to keep us on schedule. And it eventually leads to a 3rd and short where we want to try to pick up the first down. We got it with Will Peoples, as that's going to bring an end to the 3rd quarter of action. Could be setting up a chance here to possibly get the backups going here in the 2nd half. But here's how the breakdown has been. Ethan Grunkmeyer certainly getting everyone involved. So here we go, 4th quarter of action as we're 8 yards away from finding the end zone again. Peoples gonna try to run it down on the goal line and nearly finds the end zone. It's gonna be marked down the 1-yard line, but CJ Flowers going down for Marshall. He does have the sack from earlier today. So now it's 3rd and goal, and I want to try to run it in with Will Peoples, and they don't give us the touchdown. I truly thought that Will Peoples was in, but you know what? 4th and goal from the 1-yard line. I'm going to trust my offensive line here. Can we provide more willpower than the Marshall front seven? Or will this Thundering Herd squad go ahead and get themselves a goal line stand? And Will Peoples is just brought down in the backfield. Adrian Subar with the solo tackle. And after a couple of 3 and outs, Marshall is going to keep it a 24-point deficit. So while it's still not looking good for Marshall, we got to keep it real with ourselves here. At the same time, they're showing a little bit of life, but they are, of course, on life support right now. Now, with that being said, Marshall trying to go ahead and get things rolling here, but we're going to get a sack on their quarterback as DJ Dean is going to be successful in getting his 2nd sack of the season. Good play there from DJ Dean, as he's going to be able to force some uncomfortable 3rd down situations here after getting that 2nd sack of the ball game. As now 3rd and 6, trying to look over the left-hand side, and just too much time there, able to keep him open. DeMarvin Holland probably would have been better off at moving deeper downfield, but I did not want to expose ourselves to a quarterback scramble, which is partially why I stayed where I stayed at. So all of a sudden now Marshall has a little bit of life, driving down inside the 30-yard line, as Onamarius is going to go ahead and set up play action. Looking, doesn't see anyone open, it's going to scramble upfield, and Nash Birthday misses. Thought Nash Birthday was going to line him up like a Christmas tree, but Kamari Ikanu is going to be able to show some shiftiness there, as now here comes the Thundering Herd down by the goal line, and it's incomplete here. I thought that we were going to have an interception there. I thought we were in a decent spot. But the booth is going to take a look at this, and after a little bit of a discount double check, the pass actually was completed after all. So Marshall is awarded a touchdown after the fact, and they will also go for the 2-point conversion as well, as Nash Birthday is going to deny him down on the goal line. And so that keeps it an 18-point deficit, and you know where things are getting desperate when you see the onside kick in play. If we can get this onside kick, we're going to be in a beautiful spot here. And sure enough, Sean Brent, who is the backup to Porter Lindstrid, is going to be able to recover the onside kick. So 3:21 left to play here in the ball game. So it really barrels down now to how do we want to finish this game out? And we want to finish it with an exclamation point. We saw what they were doing on the outside, and we wanted to take advantage, because one thing that I wanted to make extremely clear was that we were not going to be taken advantage of. We are going to leave this game with no doubt as much as possible, And in Grunkmeyer's debut with Bluffton Tech, he's going to lead us ultimately to a 45-20 victory over his former school, and he throws for over 500 yards in the process. Alright boys, so even with a new scheme that we're working through, that being said though, we look downright scary. And here's the crazy part about this here, guys. We do not genuinely feel that we even played our best game yet, right? Because, I mean, you know, we definitely had some mistakes on both sides of the ball, but I really am encouraged by what I saw out there on the field, and I think it's going to pave a way for an extremely successful season here in year number 4, one that could possibly see us in the college football playoff if we can keep up this general level of play. Now, with that being said, Ethan Grunkmeyer made his Bluffton Tech debut, and oh my goodness, did Ethan Grunkmeyer slung that thing around. 500 yards and 5 touchdowns in his debut. He definitely handed it to his former team in the Marshall Thundering Herd. We also did a pretty good job of running the ball, especially once we let Will Peoples handle it a little bit more. Will Peoples had over 110 yards on the day with a touchdown. JD Weeks was also able to get some action as well. One thing that we did find is that Ethan Grunkmeyer is not as athletic as maybe what a DJ Armstrong was, so we found that out quite a few times throughout this game, but we'll learn from this experience, and we'll get better with as the season goes on. Receiving game, Chris Gentry was ridiculous. He was completely ridiculous in this game. 8 catches, 287 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He is starting his senior campaign off right, man. He was unguardable. But we also have some more help on the outside as well. CJ Peak stepped up and had a really good game today with 3 catches and 93 yards and also finding the end zone. Javon Moore was also able to find the end zone successfully with 3 catches and 51 yards on the day. Jason Cutler also makes his first career reception with Bluffton Tech, and so does DeAndre Bazier, making a 4-yard reception over the course of the game. But I think what excites me the most about this team going into year number 4 is that we have such an athletic team. We have a team that really flies to the ball, and it was evident today. Nash Berte led the team in tackles with 8 tackles. Devin Skates had 7 total tackles on the day as well. But the true scary part in all of this is our ability to get to his quarterback. We had 6 sacks today, and it felt like at times we had more. DJ Dean was the only guy on the squad to have multiple sacks, but Nash Berte, Devin Skates, Spencer Kinbosh, who we brought in through the transfer portal, and Cordell Torrance all had sacks today. And while we did not force any interceptions or force fumbles, it's not from a lack of trying. I mean, we had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deflections today. Those are 10 drop interceptions. So that's going to eventually work in our direction as the year goes on. We should be able to force quite a few turnovers. But with that being said, really good win, and I'm glad we can start the season out 1-0. And with that being said, guys, not only were we successful in terms of winning the game, we did receive some honors in this week. DJ Dean, because he did have multiple sacks in the game, he actually gets MAC Defensive Player of the Week. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Chris Gentry, even though he was not named Player of the Game, Grunkmeyer was named Player of the Game. Chris Gentry is going to get the nod for the MAC Offensive Player of the Week with those 287 yards and 3 touchdowns. He will also receive those same honors for the National Offensive Player of the Week. So a great time to be a Bluffton Tech Fighting Muskrat. But the next game that we have is going to be for supremacy of the Buckeye State, as next episode we will take on a team that is going to be much more difficult to play, especially on the road as well. Next episode, that team that we're playing up against is the Ohio State University. They are opening their season up against us in the Horseshoe. And even though we played pretty well today, we're going to have to bring that same level of intensity if we want to have the shot to win this game. Because Ohio State has an elite roster, one of the best rosters in the country. But we'll sort this out in the next episode, though. But with that being said, appreciate you guys coming through and supporting your Bluffton Tech Fighting Muskrats. If you enjoyed this Season 4 opener, I need you to do a couple of things for me. Hit that like button, and then also hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, but hope you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.